Circuit Broadcasting Systems would like to thank you for tuning in to the all-new WJMG 92.1 FM. It is now time for the Right to Vote show featuring Congressman Ronnie Shows.
Hello everyone, this is Ronnie Shows with your Right to Vote program on October the 13th, 2022. And we really have an interesting guest. And my guys tell me I'm not doing something right. Is the volume up? Johnny Dupree event. And we've met before earlier, but back in those days I met so many people I couldn't remember. But we really have a lot in common what we're trying to do about this voter turnout. And John is a numbers guy. And we're going to go through that with you about what we think the numbers are in the 4 congressional districts and most of the districts in Mississippi, and talking about what do we have to do to start winning and electing Democrats in the state of Mississippi. But first of all, I want you to know that we have gotten back on YouTube. So if you want to stream, go on to YouTube to listen to the program live, you can go to YouTube, type in Circuit Broadcasting in the search bar, and look for the red live tag with 92.1 logo. And you should be able to get us live if you're out of radio range. But and then if you can't do that, all you got to do is later on, he's going to upload it to YouTube, and you'll be able to get it recorded and hear it that way right after the show. So Jacory's going to upload it to YouTube, but if you want to listen to it live, you go to YouTube, type in Circuit Broadcasting in the search bar, look for the red live tag with 92.1 logo, punch up, and you should be able to get it. All right, and then, of course, this is WJMG 92.1 and 93.1 WGDQ FM. Our call-in number today, since my guest is here, is 601-544-1965. That's a good year. That's the year I finally graduated from high school. And are we ready? 1 minute. Phone? Oh, I'm sorry. It's 601-544-1941. I must have said it wrong. 601-544-1941. The year Pearl Harbor was bombed. All right, so let's keep our social distance, wash hands often, wear a mask. When you feel comfortable and it's appropriate. Remember, we still got these Delta variances. If you haven't had your booster, I've had 2. I'm going to get 1 more and another one. I'm going to take as many as I can get. Let's pray for our country and our president, especially let's pray for the people in Ukraine who are fighting for freedom. We could say we're doing that now in the United States. We always dedicate the program to Vernon Floyd, the founder and operator until his passing in 2018. He's the one that started this station. He deserves the credit, and we should never forget him. New owner operator is CJ Lee, and our contributor show is my friend Sandra Jordan, and we are going to have an event with Sandra this afternoon at the YMCA. It's going to be The Bug, the greatest criminal trial of the century. This is the Family YMCA on Veterans Boulevard in Hattiesburg. We're going to try to have a trial on the mosquito that causes the Nile virus. And it's going to be a cute little show, and I think it'll last 30 minutes. So it's going to be at the YMCA today at 4 o'clock. So if you can come by there and participate or listen in, I think you'll enjoy it. It'll last about 30 minutes. And Sandra's worked hard on it. She's got a great script. I'm going to be a lawyer in this thing. I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer, but I fooled them, and they told me I could be a lawyer. And we're going to have a defense and a prosecutor, and we're going to have a real judge there. And we're going to try this, and her name is Skeeter. That's what we're calling this mosquito that infects people with the Nile virus. So anyway, here we are. Now I'm going to get to John, and we're going to tell you a little bit about John Brenke. And I asked him to give me, and I like his bio because he really did good. Is a managing director. John's the managing director of StratSpa, LLC. It's a consultancy which specializes in understanding and leveraging complexity to improve organizational strategy. He is a native of Mississippian, 24 plus years of demonstrated thought, leadership, and strategy and development functions at Fortune 100 companies. He enhances the quality of strategic action by expanding the enterprise understanding of his possibilities, just like you try to do in politics.
Yeah, that's right. We're trying to help people understand.
We have leverage.
We have leverage. We have choices. We can make things happen.
Absolutely. And it just takes a little work and effort on our part. And he uses innovative analysis to foster input and buy-in of stakeholders, augments them with a deep sense of history, positive imagination, and persuasive narratives, makes them interesting by using innovative graphics and compelling frameworks. In other words, he likes to take something complicated and get it where people can understand it.
That's right, making a story out of it.
Make a story out of it, make it interesting instead of just statistics. And that's what we're going to try today, and let you know that we do have a chance in this race. We do have a chance of making a stand in the state of Mississippi and show the country that we're not asking for a handout, we're asking for a hand up, help us do this. And it just takes money, but we can do that. And so it makes it easy to explain to others. Now, his education, I'm going to skip down to that. And he got his original training to do this in the master's program at the Faculty of Applied Economics at the University of Antwerp.
Yep.
Explain that place. A lot of people have never heard it. It's not like
Antwerp is a very old port city in Belgium, and it had it's got a very important port. And matter of fact, you heard about it during World War II. It had a strategic importance, but it's an old business town, and the university there is I figured a place that had a school of economics and business. I said, that's where I need to go.
And that's where you went. You graduated magna cum laude.
I did a magna cum laude, finished magna cum laude. I was very proud of that.
Yeah, I bet you are. You had to study hard, huh?
It was cold, and I'm from South Mississippi, and I literally remember I would be in my apartment wrapped in a blanket, shivering cold, studying statistics.
You sound like to me you needed some bourbon. I'm not the classic math or statistics guy. That came later from me. And when I'm doing more exotic stuff, I still have to ask real statisticians for help. He graduated with an undergraduate degree in philosophy and history from USM and St. Joseph College, a small liberal arts college in Covington, Louisiana. And he said, I think that was the most important part of my education. He was a graduate of Van Cleve High School, and his wife, Kelly, a school teacher, are committed lifelong Democrats. They have 4 children: Victoria, Lawrence, a nurse, A.D.K. Brenke, and 5th grade teacher. John Lawrence, an anthropology student at Maximilian Brenke, a film student. And John formed Straight Spy in 2021. The winged horse Luna was John's imaginary childhood friend. All right, so we know you got quite an imagination.
Yeah, I do.
But the reason I asked John to come, he gave some numbers at this event for Mayor Dupree in Hattiesburg a few weeks ago, and I was really, really interested in it. And I asked him to give me his card because I like to get on the show and let him express what possibilities we have in the state of Mississippi with the numbers. And it's everybody, I don't care if you're sitting in a salon or a barber shop or sitting at home, well, we can't win. We can't win. Well, I'm an old coach, and I always told my players, they may be taller, they may be bigger, but they all put their pants on one leg at a time. And that's the way it is. And the only reason we think we can't win is because we're not organizing ourselves and looking to numbers, understand. If you run for office, if you run to get your name ID, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm running to win. And every time I help a candidate, I want that candidate to win. I take the loss as bad as my candidates. I like to win. And I don't want somebody to run knowing they can't win. But in this 4th congressional district, Mr. Dupree has got an opportunity for a Democrat to be competitive and win if we listen to the numbers, the John's going to give us today and his ideas about what's going to make this work. John, tell us what you found out. And I asked him to do some checking of stuff, and he very kindly did that. And what do you see in the road here? And what do we have to do to start winning in the 4th Congressional? We're going to let the other congressional district take it. Well, once we start doing this in ours, we're going to help the others.
I think that's an excellent question. And, when it comes to politics, it seems like it's pretty easy for us to talk about change being appropriate. Mm-hmm. And, we've had a generation of the state has been controlled basically by one party here for a long, long time, and we are still at the bottom of every good list and the top of every bad one, and everybody knows that change is appropriate. Mm-hmm. I was asking a little bit different question. I was asking, is change possible? Mm-hmm. Not everybody knows it's appropriate. The question is,
can you do it?
Can you do it? Is it within reach? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to ask that kind of question, I guess the first thing, if ultimately you're talking about voter habits, right? Mm-hmm. And what I did is I compiled what we call a data set of elections, federal elections here in the state of Mississippi, going back a ways, and I said, based on past historical data, if I'm looking at this 22 election, how many people do I think are going to vote, and from that I can determine how many people I think it's going to take to win. And basically, I came up with 5 models, and some were better than others, but it boiled down to this: is that I think the number of people who vote on November 8th is going to be in the 4th Congressional District of Mississippi. My models are telling me it's going to be between 258,000 and
total votes
and 238,000. Those are 2 different models giving me 2 different answers.
Yeah.
So based on that, what I'm saying is that just kind of an estimate, it's going to take
to win
about 118,000 or 129,000 votes to win.
Democrat.
Well,
either side.
It's going to take. Well, if the Democrat's going to win, he's going to have to generate that many votes.
Yeah.
So the next question became, Ronnie, well, how many votes what's kind of the high tide mark of how many votes that
Obama got or somebody?
Democrats have turned out in the 4th Congressional District? And turns out that the high tide mark is about 92,000 votes. So
in the 4th district.
In the 4th district, that's to carry the 4th district. So you see, we need between 118,000 to 129,000 to win, and on average, we've only the high tide mark is 92,000. So you see, there's a challenge there.
Yeah.
And this just reflects that it's tough. But when you start to scratch that 92,000 number, there's some remarkable things about it, mm-hmm. and that's where this kind of analysis got really interesting. And what I found out, Ronnie, was that what I'm looking at is the data says there's 2 influences. One thing that motivates voters is the candidate, the particular candidate, and the second thing that's motivated is kind of what I would call structural, structurally they tend to be motivated. And by candidate, back in 2008, when Barack Obama ran, he originally he got 78,923 votes is with data that I picked up what it said.
So right at 80.
Right at 80,000 votes. Mm-hmm. But what was interesting is that was a time I think folks weren't at least folks I remember weren't as sure about him. We all wanted a Democratic, we wanted him to win, but we weren't sure.
They didn't know about the experience.
And then what happens is that you fast forward 12 years, when folks knew that he could be elected, folks jumped on the bandwagon, and the difference there was 87,000 votes. So you see that he picks up 9,000 votes just because people
believed in it. And he got to experience. I mean, people were kind of afraid of him because he's only been a U.S. senator for 6 months,
right? And
now he's running for president. That was the biggest hill he had to work. Of course, he had Hillary Clinton running, who had all the experience,
right?
And I was a Hillary Clinton to that point. Then when he got it, I was Obama.
I was too. But what's remarkable there is that when he proves that this is doable, it's worth about 9,000 votes to him. Okay, so that's just one time, but this has actually happened more than once in the 4th Congressional District. You could also go to 2016, and we had this person named Donald Trump was running, and most folks, I mean, you were listening to this on CNN, everybody was saying that nobody thought that he could win.
Yeah.
And Democrats turned out 75,789 votes in 2016, okay? And then lo and behold, surprises everyone, this person gets elected. And
with the help of Russia.
Well, you're right. That's that. That's I mean, there's
Facebook.
That.
Thanks to Facebook.
But what's interesting to me is he demonstrates. You see that we were positively motivated by Mr. Obama, but we also have a situation where we were Democrats were negatively motivated by Mr. Trump, because the difference in 2020 was that 92,000 votes. So. What I'm saying is that the difference between, in the 4th Congressional District of Mississippi, the difference between motivated and not so motivated is up to
thousands of votes.
16,500 or so votes.
Yeah.
That is huge. Imagine that. If you could do that again with that 90, what is 92 plus 16? I mean, that's you're getting close to that.
You're getting closer to that magic
that number you need. So really, really important. Candidates matter, and I think that we need to look at Mr. Dupree, and we need to look at his opponent, and we need to look at kind of the national. And I think we need to be motivated by the candidate. We know what these parties stand for, and we need to be motivated.
Well, we
by that.
know what's going to happen if a Republican gets there. It's going to be the same old, just like we got for governor, lieutenant governor. Speaker of the House, look where we're at. We're not expanding Medicaid. I guarantee you, I don't know this gentleman. They tell me he's a good guy and all, but I know how he's going to vote.
I've met him, and I think he's an honorable person.
That's what I've heard.
But my sense is that he would go along with
Sure, he's going to do what he's told to do,
right.
Just like every Republican up there. And they don't have an original thought of their own. They have to be told, you do this, or we're going to put you out in the primary next time. They threaten them with money. And, and I'm not saying the Democrats, but the 4 short years I had in Congress, never once did Pelosi demand I vote. She said, Ronnie, you do what you got to do to get back. Dick Gephardt did me the same way. He said, Ronnie, I don't want to get you. Can you help me? I said, I can help you on this. It won't hurt me. And it did. And the vote is based on, have you got a person up there who's really going to put his heart and soul into his district instead of a party? And we don't have that anymore.
Yep.
And it's just pitiful. But here's what I'm thinking. Let's take Lamar County. Forest County's got more Democratic elected officials in it than Lamar County, where I live. All right, we do not have one Democratic person in elected office, unless it's a mayor in Lumberton. Of course, it's 65% Democratic base. That's it. I don't think we have an elected constable. We don't have an elected supervisor. And I get along with the supervisor in Lamar County. They work with us, and I work with them. I appreciate that fact. But there's no reason not to have somebody. I know there's a qualified Democrat somewhere to be an elected official in Lamar County. And people keep saying, well, we don't have a chance. We don't have a chance. But we got to be smart. And I want to throw this out at you. I told you we'd talk back and forth on this. Let's say we have a person who runs in a district that has, in Lamar County, a pretty substantial Democratic base. Well, not every Republican or Democrat's perfect, so the incumbent's got enemies. Every incumbent's got enemies. Well, if you take our base and the people are not really satisfied and we get the turnout that we want from our base, we can figure those numbers.
What you're getting at is something
targeted
that is bared out, is born in the data. One of the things that I was saying, it aligns with what you're saying, Ronnie. And what I'm seeing is that this first, second, and third congressional districts are turning out a lot more voters than we are in the fourth. It's a statistic, what we would call
the other congressional district.
It's what you call a statistically significant number. This is not an accident. This is something that's going on, and by this is what I mean. What I mean by this is that in the Mississippi fourth, people. What happens is you and I were just listening to Chairman Thompson speak at the hearing.
Yeah, that show's on right now, folks.
Yeah. But you and I were just talking about that, and in the second congressional district, African Americans, 1,000 African Americans are turning out about, in 2020, it was about 363.
So you're talking about 1,000
African American citizens.
Citizens, not voters right now.
Not voters yet.
Just citizens.
But I'm saying it's correlated with about 363 or 364 Democratic votes. On the other hand, if you go to, excuse me, I said that backwards. The Mississippi second, Mr. Chairman Thompson's district, he's turning out about 456 votes per 1,000, whereas in the fourth, we're only turning out about 363. And that is a difference. That's a difference of about 28%. They are 28% more voters getting out to vote.
And we got the voters.
The
voters. You hear that? Don't you remember Bernard Damer died for you to have that right? And now we're not turning out that 28% we need to turn out?
Well, let me say, it's even better than that. Okay. Here's the idea, is if we had the same motivation in the fourth district that we have in the second district to turn out Democrats, my math says it would be worth 20,476 more votes. If we were voting at this rate, rather that 456 rate, rather than that 38 rate, 36% rate. That's huge. And so what this means is this is all about believing that you can win.
Yeah.
And it's in, well, let me walk back a little bit. This is structurally hard because
to put boots on the ground.
You got to put boots on the ground,
votes, and it's not cheap.
And it's not cheap.
And nothing's free.
And I guess the way I would say it is, we are competitive when we get the, not guarantee that we would win, but we are competitive when we get these votes out. And it's huge, and just something that we need to understand about ourselves.
Well, folks, I want you to listen to this. Dupree's not adversary, but opponent is not even going on TV that I know of. He's not doing anything because he's taking it for granted. We're not going to turn out. That's all it is. He's counting on we're not going to get that 28%. And I think we have more. Didn't you say the numbers showed that our Democrats are more motivated to vote this time than the Republicans? Give that number.
Looking at the data in the 4th Congressional District, I told you that for every 1,000 African-American citizens, we're turning out about 364 votes. Well, every 1,000 Caucasian citizens, the GOP is only turning out about 330. Which is to say that we are more we get beat because there's more
population.
More population. But in terms of being more motivated, we're the more motivated party. And if we can start to grow into those, that what I would call that efficiency number that you see in the 2nd Congressional District, again, that would be worth 20,000 votes. And let me go back to that 92,000.
Let's just go to 50% of our folks start voting. Woo. That'd be it.
Woo. Yeah.
And all right, you want to expand Medicaid, right? You want to help these students that have debt they can't pay off at college. You're for a woman's personal liberty. You're for making this country what it's meant to be. Go vote. Go vote. And you will see a difference in what happens. And I know you hear this too, that I do. Oh, my vote don't count.
No, it does. That's what these numbers say.
That's what the numbers say. And we need, and next week I'm going to have a gentleman on that's been working in this area of registering young voters. And the youth is what's going to be paying for what we're not doing today. The future is going to suffer from the ones of you who don't vote are going to be left out again. And for the ones who are not voting, oh, well, I kind of like the way Trump, he tells, well, he's a liar. Trump is a liar. He's a thief. He's a Russian. Did I make it any plainer? Please tell me if I'm not. I'll tell you how I really feel. And and a lot of his followers, there's no difference. And so I'm very upset that the candidates we have running on the other side, I know some honorable Republicans, and two of them are on the January 6th committee. Cheney, which I didn't like her daddy very much, but she's got some guts.
Honorable woman, yep.
Honorable woman, and the gentleman from the military, Kaczynski, I can't remember his name. It's one of them Yankee names up in Nebraska or something.
Kissinger.
Yeah. Not Kissinger. Kinzinger.
Kinzinger, yeah.
Kinzinger. The only two that had the guts to do it. And we don't have the guts to go out and vote. And you got guys and a woman and a gentleman that they think different than we do, but they believe in this country and what we stand for. And we got John here today giving you the numbers that we can compete. It takes effort. And, I don't know how to enthuse people. I'll give you an example. And give me your thought on this. Did you ever look at the numbers when Cochran ran for re-election in that primary and he finally won the primary? Did you ever look at those numbers?
He was Mr. McDaniel, I believe. Was
Mr. McDaniels. And did you see the increase in voting in the second primary in the Republican, how it jumped up?
That's that same effect.
They were afraid of Chris McDaniels.
They were afraid of Chris McDaniels, and they got motivated to vote for Mr. Cochran.
That's right.
And it wasn't just Republicans voting for Mr. Cochran.
It was more Democrats coming.
It was centrists, Democrats moving over.
Oh, look, I know a lot of preachers that voted for Cochran. We all do.
Yep.
We know mayors that voted for Cochran, which they were trying to get grants for the city. I understand that. I'm a politician. I know what it means to disappoint your constituents when you got a grant up there, and all you got to do is keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
I know that, and I don't blame them, but again, the Republican wouldn't do it for us.
It was the very same effect that this Obama
motivated
effect, Trump, this McDaniel effect. We were, and Mr. Cochran was an honorable man.
Well, I'll admit I voted for Cochran. I didn't have last time because I had a Democrat, Travis Childers, but a lot of the Democrats didn't think he could beat Chris McDaniels, but he would beat him.
I voted in that primary. Voted Republican.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people did, and I get it. I get it, but folks, that's what we're trying to get out there. We can win. If it hadn't been for Democrats crossing the line, Cochran, you'd either have the guy from North Mississippi, the Democrat, or Chris McDaniels. And, that was the threat. And now you got the same threat. You got a guy that's going to be up there. I'm not saying wasn't a good sheriff down there in Jackson County, wherever he's at, but doggone, he's going to vote how he's told to vote. And
that's kind of my sense of it too. But again, it's the high tide mark is 92,000 votes. That was the best Democrats have did. But you've seen these two examples. Just being motivated by the candidate was worth about 17,000 votes. And also just matching the average enthusiasm that you see in the second congressional district, that's worth 20,000 votes. Mm-hmm. And you see how we get up where this is not hard. I mean, this is well, I guess it is hard. But
it's like Bill Clinton. It's arithmetic.
It's arithmetic.
That's all it is.
And if when we are that motivated, then we are competitive. And one thing I want to add to this is that we are competitive, which is to say, not a guarantee that we would win. Mm-hmm. But here's something interesting that happens.
Puts us in the game.
Puts us in the game, And next time around, when the National Democratic Party
start handing out money,
and
hey, these guys
by the way, the Republicans saying, "Oh my goodness, I got to protect this seat." They start, and all of a sudden, when we become we become something worth investing in.
You just look at two counties on the coast, Jackson and Harrison County. Gulfport could equal 2 or 3 or 4 counties in a Democratic vote they could put out. But the organization down there doesn't do that good a job. And if we could put these counties like this, the way I see it, and I think you'll agree with me on this, when they send money down here to get the vote out, it goes to Hinds County and it goes to the Delta. We don't get nothing down here to help put boots on the ground, get out the vote. We have to entice our people. I hate to say this, why Democrat people don't have money to do it themselves. They got to receive money to be able to get out there and put gas in their car, take people to the polls, educate them. That's all time and money.
Yep.
Let's take an example, the medical marijuana. What percentage of the population turned out to vote for that? 74% of the people were for it.
My guess it was probably 45% voted?
Well, 74% who voted
for it. But what percentage of the population was it?
That's a good number I'd like for you to look at.
Well, I'm looking, I can look at that. I don't have that in front of me, but
yeah.
I'm looking at some of these other elections that across the state. It was usually only about, the vote was approximately between 38 and 45% of the population. So that would be my...
I would think, I bet it was higher than that, but I don't know that for sure. But I'd sure like to. It had to be a heck of a turnout.
This is why I want to get a hold of some. Talking to you last night, I guess it was. We were looking at voter registration rolls rather than a lot of this analysis that I'm doing is based on population, but we can get a lot more granular when we get that data.
Well, you got a list. The Democratic Committee has a deal called the van list. And the van list is, most counties have it. We have it. You have to pay a certain amount of money, but it's not that bad. But the county committees can get it. I guarantee you, K. Sims down there's got a van list in Jackson County. And you got who voted Democrat. They don't have the Republican. It's got every Democrat that's been voting in the past. And you compare how active are they voting. Now, the problem we're facing today is being purged, which we know what that's for. In other words, when they purge you, if you miss 2 federal elections in a row, you're put on an inactive list. Now, what that inactive list means that when you go to the poll book, you won't be in that poll book, but they send you to another book and see if you're on the inactive list. If you've only missed 2, you're on the inactive list. All right? Then you'll sign an affidavit and you can vote and you're put back on the poll book. If you've missed more than 2, you're completely taken off.
And you got to go through the courthouse.
You got to go and re-register.
Okay.
So what people have to do is, first of all, call the circuit clerk's office and make sure that you haven't been taken off. If they say you're on the inactive list, go to the poll you've been voting at, tell them you're on the inactive list, or they'll look at that. By duty, they have to look at the inactive list. If they don't see you on the active list, they have to look on the inactive list.
Well, but this is an example of the stuff that I was talking about, the difference between motivated and not motivated. Kind of not motivated folks just shrug, I'm not on the list. But
I'm in too much trouble.
But exactly. But folks who are motivated are going to say, no, I got it on my list this week. Tuesday morning, I'm going to call the circuit clerk and I'm going to find out, where do I stand on that list?
Yeah.
What? Okay, I'm not on it. I'm on such a. What do I need? What do I need to do to get right? So me voting on November 8th ain't going to be a hitch.
Absolutely.
We got to do that.
You got to do that. And look, you can vote early if you're over 65. You can, and the best way to do it, I had a lady call me the other night, and we need to go over the ballot because I had a lot of questions about the candidates on the ballot. You know, you have nonpartisan, but those are judges. Judges are nonpartisan. And so they're not a Republican or a Democrat. Well, they say they're not, but you know. And so I went to this friend of mine on our committee, and she called me about these nonpartisan votes. I said, well, Ms. Wyvon, they're judges. They don't have a party. They can't solicit. They can't ask for money. They have to have volunteers to give them money and have fundraisers for them. They can't even be at the function. And so what you have to do is you have to get in there and understand the ballot, and that makes it less confusing. So I'm going to probably next week or so, we're going to go over this ballot in Lamar County and Forest County, and we'll go through each precinct and let people know what's the meaning of this ballot.
So what you're saying is you're going to have that actual ballot, and you're going to have this name, and you're going to say, okay, we're going to look for these 3 names. Oh, there they are right there.
Yeah.
And is that the one you want, Miss Wyvon? And she said, then you'll put an X on that one, and then you'll move to the next race.
That's right.
And making sure these folks understand can navigate the ballot.
And navigate the ballot, but here's the best way to do it. If you go, and I know Lamar, and I figure Forest County too, I think we got 2 good clerks. I know we do. And you go in there, if you're 65 or older, or you're going to be out of town for any reason, you can vote absentee. I think it must be for working. It used to be for working, but I don't even know. It may be on vacation. I don't know if you can do it on vacation or not. But anyway, if you're going to be out of town, whether it's your job or something else, you can go to the circuit clerk's office, go in there, and those ladies will say, well, this is your ballot, and they won't tell you how to vote, but if you have a question about, can I vote for this or this, they'll tell you. They're very, very helpful. And that's what a circuit clerk's for. The circuit clerk wants an honest election. He's not supposed to be partisan in this part of the deal.
That's right.
He may run as a Republican, but he's not supposed to be partisan.
You know where that sometimes gets confusing for me?
What?
Is some of those referendums, you know, the way they get...
It is. That's the reason we need to explain it a little bit better what we do. Because people spend so much time reading a thing, they get frustrated. And
I used to teach a course in university logic, and I'm reading this thing, and I was going, I'm not... wait.
The medical marijuana deal, they gave you 2 choices.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it was crazy because that's what the legislature wanted to do. They wanted to confuse people so they could control it. And you see how long it's taken to get where we're at with it now. But the whole thing is this, that you need to be prepared, and in the next coming days or weeks, I'm going to take these ballots, and we're going to go down through them from Forest and Lamar County. And if you're a listener in another county and you want to know what yours is, let us know. Because unless I know the counties that's listening so we can be of some help to you, let me know, and we'll be glad to go over that ballot too. Because if you want to see, the best way to do it, if you got a computer, have your grandkids go to the computer and say, I live in Greene County. All right, sample ballot for Greene County, Mississippi. Boom, it pops up. You look on your computer, or your grandchild can make a copy of it, or tell them when they're in school, go to the school library and ask them, or go to the library.
Good idea.
Get you a sample ballot, and then be prepared. And if you have a question, you can call me. You can call the radio station. And
when it comes time to vote, you're not going to have any. You're not going to have any. You're going to know what you need to do, and
that's right. And if you need a ride to the polls, call me. I'll give you my number: 601-214-7143. I'll have somebody, or I'll come pick you up, and we'll take you to the polls. And I have taken a Republican to the polls. We're not supposed to discriminate, right?
Well, you're right, because that's what American citizens ought to do, is look out for each other.
You have the right to vote for who you choose.
That's right. But again, all this goes back to, Ronnie, it's all about, are we motivated to have good governance in this country, and we got to get motivated to vote to make that happen.
Okay. Well, look, we ran out of time, and Corey's giving me the evil eye over here. So I can't tell you how much help it is. And I'd like to get you on right before the election, and I'd like to talk to you about, I know your time's valuable. I ain't got the money to pay you hourly on this, but I'd sure love to, let's talk a little bit about what specific numbers and what spots in the 4th District would be really a gold mine for these numbers to know what the potential is in, let's say, Gulfport. That's not sure.
Let's plan on doing that,
Okay.
and I will be happy to come back or call in, however we could do it. But yeah,
We'll talk after the show.
we'll talk after the show, and we'll plan on doing it.
And then we'll try to motivate the people. And we're going to look at Purvis. We're going to look at Oak Grove. We're going to look at Hattiesburg. We're going to look at Gulfport. The bigger areas. Let's see what we're not getting out. And you know, first of all, you have to see what the problem is, and you have to understand it's there. If the numbers are there and the problem is not getting them out, then we got to figure out how to get them out. And if we need more people to register to vote, we need to and there's drives all the time, but it's hard to. Like in Hattiesburg, they've been able to go in schools and register. They haven't been able to do that in Lamar County. But when you do this kind of deal, it has to be nonpartisan. You have to register Republicans and Democrats. But I don't care if they want to vote. That's what it is. That's the way it is. You don't deny somebody to vote. And I tell you, I'm reading a book right now, The Evil That Lived in Laurel. Have you read that?
No, sir.
The Evil That Lived in Laurel. It was a Vernon Damon murder. Back in the 60s in Moselle, we didn't have a driver's ed. But Watkins High School, because it's the Big 8 school, had a driver's ed. So the county Board of Education hired one man to be the driver's ed for all the county schools. He did Glade, Calhoun, Moselle, you name it. He had about 10 schools. I don't know, and his name was Tom Landrum. And none of us knew this, but Tom was the FBI informant. He was the secretary for the Klan, the White Klux, Ku Klux Klan, Cyclops, all that crap, you know.
Lord.
And he was my driver's ed teacher. He kept that a secret for 40 years because his life would have been in danger.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And a year before he died, he gave his journal. This is what's so cool about this book. And I know I've heard some people. I know Dina Simmons read the book, and she's talked about it. And I went to a meeting that Tom Landrum's son got what's the writer at Ole Miss? He was a big civil rights guy, white guy, Wilkes.
Okay.
Wilkes helped. He was the ghostwriter for Mike Landrum, Tom's son. So when Tom, a year before he died, his wife, he would come in from a meeting, and his wife would type his notes up. Then his mother-in-law lived in Jackson, and she would mail that to her mother, and she put it in a safe. It's been in that safe for 40 years, and before it became public. You know who else was a big player?
Who's that?
Some of the Republicans I thought would never have done. Charles Pickering.
Judge Pickering?
Judge Pickering. I called Chip. I was in Congress when Judge Pickering was appointed. Bush appointed him from that for that federal judge, and I didn't vote because none of us knew that. Benny Thompson didn't know it. I didn't know it. Nobody knew it. And when I read that in the book, I called Chip. I said, "I owe you an apology, man." That's what I told him.
Well,
I said, "I didn't know your dad did that." He said, "Well, Ronnie, we couldn't tell anybody."
it's honorable.
Yeah, it's honorable. And I said, "Well, Chip, we just didn't know." He said, "Well, I'm sure if you guys knew, it'd have been a different story." And Chip's a good guy. He's a Republican. He ain't helped that, but that's okay. He's a good person. And today he's a good person. And even though they beat me, but...
Well, yeah, I used to work for I used to work down at the shipyard for a guy who was a deputy to Chip when he was at the,
Chip's a good guy.
And there's lots of Republicans out there who are. We happen to have differences of opinion.
Well, that don't make them evil.
And they don't make them evil. Well,
no.
there are
some evil ones.
but
and we had some Democrats I'd rather not be in a party.
Yeah,
I mean, we both got our extremes on both sides.
That's right.
And that's what's screwing up the country. And because they can raise all the money. And so that's what we got to say.
The crazies can raise the money. That's.
Well, you have a certain element out there that wants it like it used to be. You got another element.
Does that mean like 1950?
Yeah. Well, do you know? This is pretty neat. I'm a big MSNBC, and I listen to Rachel Maddow, except the way she presents it, she goes so fast, and but she's very historically correct, and she's got a podcast now. She started looking at, I wonder if this happened before in our history. Do you know before World War II, there was a movement to take over the country. There was one Catholic priest.
Father Charles Coughlin.
Yep. He had 30 million listeners, and he was preaching Hitler. Folks, you know what 30 million people would be today? It'd be 80 million. So this is not our first trial run. We got these evil people that go in a hole when it's not popular, and then they got this idiot Trump and the idiots that supported them because they were afraid of socialism, which I don't know a Democrat in Mississippi wants to be a socialist.
Me neither.
I don't. And I don't know many in Congress except that 3 or 4 they always on the news opening their mouth. And but anyway, I'm going way off chart. Well, let's do this. We'll see you next Thursday at the same time. I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to have the young gentleman. I can't remember his name right now, but a lot of people around here work with him, registering these young voters. He's got a Mississippi Move On or something like that, registering early younger voters, high school and stuff like that. College students, and really anybody that's not registered, but they've had a pretty successful drive. And he's from this area. He graduated from Southern to the top, and we're really happy to have him on, and I think this would be of value. And then in the meantime, I'm going to try to get the ballots from the surrounding counties, and we'll go over some of these counties. I think it'd be helpful, and I'd like for you to be back on the show with me when we do that.
I'd enjoy that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful.
Okay.
And because I could give you the counties I'm looking at, and let's look at the numbers.
Let's plan on that, and give me a little bit of time to work the math.
A couple of weeks will be okay.
Yeah, that'd work fine. Okay. I got to get the data set, and tell me what you're interested in, and we can kick the tires and understand what's.
I'm going to try to get the counties that are in the viewing area. And then if anybody's out of that viewing area would still like to see that, we'll just let us know. Give them. You can call the radio station at 601-544-1941. Remember, that was when World War II began. and you can do that or call 601-214-7143. And we'll be glad to help explain the ballot. We'll be glad to just give me a little heads up which county you're in, and we'll do that. Remember, folks, we got to vote. You got to vote. You got to vote. You got to vote. And don't forget this afternoon at 4 o'clock, I'm going to be a lawyer against West Nile virus mosquito named.
Are you prosecuting this?
No,
this
they
mosquito,
made me the defendant.
You got to defend this mosquito.
I got to defend.
I guess he's entitled
to
a fair trial or some such, but he is a mosquito.
Well, the good thing about it, they have a short lifespan.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, everyone. John, I want to thank you. It's been a lot of help
You're
today,
very welcome.
And I can see us working together a lot if you got the time. And I know we're paying you a lot to do this, but I think it'll certainly help us down the road.
Amen. I'm be happy to come back.
Okay.
And,
I'm glad.
I'm
John,
excited about all this stuff. We make a difference, and Democrats are
You just gotta get involved and understand what's at stake. Because I tell you, I don't sleep good at night. I really don't, because I'm so worried about where we're heading with this country, and the kind of men and women that get up there. I was so proud of that jury that Alex Jones got $1 billion deal.
I saw that 900.
Can you imagine your child being murdered and the guy said it was all fake, and then you have people calling you,
harassing you afterwards,
and telling you you're going to pee on the child's grave and all that crap? How do you do that? And how do people believe that? You got people in church that believe that. They believe Antifa was up there in D.C. in the riot.
And it's
hard for me to talk to them with a straight face.
That ain't free speech. That ain't free speech.
No. But anyway, let's remember that a great man that was killed, murdered for registering voters, Vernon Damer, gave his life so you could have the right to make a difference. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of us don't. So you take care, and God bless America, and God bless our president, and let's remember Ukraine and people are fighting for freedom. Not only Ukraine, we got people all over the world. Haiti and everywhere else is just having a hard time. It's just not one population or one ethnic community. It's a lot of people, children, slave markets, sex trafficking with children. All right, so we'll see you next week, and God bless America, and God bless you, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll be on the same station, same time this Thursday. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Right to Vote Show featuring Congressman Ronnie Shows. The Right to Vote Show airs every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on WJMG 92.1 FM and WGDQ 93.1 FM. You can also stream The Right to Vote Show at cbsllc.live, as well as recapture previous episodes. Once again, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Right to Vote Show featuring Congressman Ronnie Shows.